Sagan, and I am in my studio in Santa Fe, New Mexico, in the United States. I'm going to be reading some poetry today from my newest book out from Cyberwit. It's called Music for Monoliths, and I'll talk a little bit more about the title in a minute. It's cold out. It's going to freeze tonight. I'm going to try to read some poems that are seasonal, and it is the end of October 2023. The poems in this collection are tanka. They are 5 lines long, and they derive in a sort of Americanized or English language way from the Japanese form of tanka, which is very ancient. It's a beautiful lyric form, emphasizes nature, the feelings of the poet, sometimes love. Haiku is shorter and comes out of tanka. It's a kind of later short form. So tanka has a quality of sort of being spacious and allowing the poet to look within. And really, I think, in a way, that's what the first one in the book is about. You'll always notice the lone tree, something that speaks to your hidden solitude. Tanka can be funny. In haiku, we would call that senryu. I want to share a moment in my kitchen with you. All the water pressed from tofu by the collected works of William Shakespeare. So you can see that moment. When I saw it, I thought, well, this is definitely a strange dramatic approach, but also it would make a nice little short poem. When I work with tanka, sometimes I also go into the mythic or the fairy tale, the archetypical source of the river, a girl spinning. The traveler realizes he sailed across the Milky Way, is himself a wandering star. Things I didn't pick up at the tide line. Tentacles, sea foam, broken shell, sandpiper tracks, my most familiar fears. A lot of the poems in the collection are about music. They were written during live concerts, and I do like to look at musicians and wonder who are they apart from their music. Double bass player. Who will love her? Who is tall enough? Whose strings will she pluck? Cactus wren pecks, hole in the saguaro. I admire a nest in thorns, but am too shy to answer your question. Cloud mimics mountain, Art Deco dam towers over the outflow. Something we haven't seen has eaten this prickly pear. And this is a very cold time of year here, a time when you bring in the pots of your annuals that you want to keep going. And here's a poem sort of about awakening to your own mortality and kind of understanding how short time is. For the first time, I won't bring geraniums in from the frost, not the pink ones, nor the red. And after I wrote that poem a few years ago, I felt remorse, and I went out and I brought in the geranium pots. And there are geranium pots right here in this studio at this very minute. So I think it's possible to have that kind of double vision where you feel the passage of time and age, and yet you're still bringing in your pots. I think the next tanka is also about that. It was about when my father was a very old man, and I was sitting with him looking at an art book. Looking at the geese across the sky of the Japanese print, my father shakily asks me why the next page is blank. This one is a very short poem about a very long performance of the opera Vanessa. And opera, as you know, goes on, but this was the moment that I got out of it. It's snowing inside the house as it does every early spring. The soprano sings that love is coming. She is waiting. On the cover of this book is a monolith. It's Devil's Tower in Wyoming. It's a national monument in the United States. The Native American name for it is Bear Lodge Butte, and Devil's Tower has sort of negative connotations, but that's what it's called. I've also heard people say you can call it Spirit Tower. It's a very sort of buzzy geologic feature, and of course it's featured in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And I became obsessed with the idea of going to Devil's Tower and writing a bunch of tanka about it. It was 1,000 miles away, actually. It took a while to get there, but I was able to make my pilgrimage. And here is the Native American sort of backstory on the creation of it. The sisters ran from a great bear up the butte top, fled skyward, arms outstretched, became the Pleiades. Daytime moon waxing over Devil's Tower, monolith of hexagonal crystals, as wasps buzz on the screen. Look, everyone points up, where climbers hang from rock. I won't admit it, but I'm happier on the ground. Dozens of vultures resting in pine trees at dusk. Sunset illuminates the tower with last daylight. Devil's Tower in the rear view mirror. In the end, I choose to go back home. So I managed to get my pilgrimage and get my monoliths in the middle of the book. Here's a more sort of intimate or personal one. We stayed so late talking. It snowed towards midnight, and your footprints heading home filled. Snow-capped volcano, the spirits of winter sit around the heated table, playing dice. Chinatown restaurant like any other, I order carefully off the menu as if you might still appear. And this one is a more political one about the dangers that were done to miners who took uranium out of the earth, and of course that uranium became bombs and also did damage. Half-life of uranium, older than mountains. Radiation for the miners' lung cancer. This is a grandmother's moment. The toddler spit. Not this spoon, that spoon. Not that blanket, the other one. Then lulled to cherubic sleep. Trash in the tree, housefly at the window. I sit by the old woman dying, spring wind. Old letters and diaries. The wind has archived tumbleweed against the barbed wire fence. And back to sort of the ancient tale. Birdsong and mist, an old tale of revenge. In the birch forest, even the greatest archer can't hit the moon. Distance between sea and mountains, sleep and waking, me and you and me, so close, so far. The last one is about a statue of a Buddhist bodhisattva or saint, Jizu statue. And Jizu is the kind of protector and patron of children, pilgrims, and monks. Those of us who are wandering and vulnerable on this earth. Jesus statue wrapped in string, each cord a lost object I will not find again. Thank you for coming and enjoying these poems.